Hello everyone, welcome to William and the Magic Box. Today on our show, we are going to have Stefano. Stefano is from New Jersey in the USA. So let's see what Stefano has to say. Enjoy the interview. Hello.
Hello, how are you, William?
Hello Stefano, I'm very well. How are you doing today?
I'm very well, thank you. Is the picture okay?
Yes, you look very handsome.
Oh, thank you. That's very sweet. That's very sweet. Thank you. You look very nice yourself. Thanks.
Thank you so much. Am I saying your name right, Stefan or Stefano?
Stefano, you're saying it the Italian way, which is the correct pronunciation. So thank you for asking.
Amazing. So tell me, how's your day been so far?
It's been very splendid, actually. It's pretty sunny, and it's surprisingly not as hot and humid out here on the East Coast as it has been since we're knee-deep in the summer.
I see. Tell me where you're from.
Right now, I'm currently in the New Jersey area. So I've lived and worked in New York City for many years and occasionally go back. Yeah.
So New York City is the place where you were born?
No, I was born in New Jersey. Born in New Jersey.
I see. And what's the best part of living in New Jersey, in your opinion?
In my opinion, well, I would say all of the greenery. New Jersey is one of those states that unfortunately has oftentimes gets misrepresented by stereotype, and I imagine people who've never come to visit, because there's quite a lot of greenery and a lot of reservations and beautiful historic centers and so forth, waterfalls even, and obviously there's the beach down the shore, but a variety of great things.
I see. And Stefano, tell me, what do you do for a living?
I'm a freelance artist and a teacher. I am a recent graduate of School of Visual Arts in New York City for cartooning. But I've studied fine arts my entire life at various institutions, and I teach illustration and cartooning, and I also am a freelance illustrator and cartoonist. So right now, that's what I'm primarily focusing on. I'm also a singer-songwriter and musician. I have a band. We're not currently working on any new material, but you can find us on YouTube at youtube.com/Stefano and the Truth. It's alternative rock. It's all original music. I'm very proud of our video songs that we put out. And of course, they're available for streaming on all of your listening devices.
My God, you do a lot.
It would appear that way. I mean, everybody's sort of got the hustle these days, right? And we're all slowly recuperating from the pandemic.
Absolutely. My God, the luckier mug. Can I see your mug again?
Yeah, it's a little bit covered in coffee because I had a spill a little earlier, but yeah, it's my little Superman mug.
That's your creation? That's your creation or not?
This one is not my creation, but I do have as a matter of fact, I do have a recent Superman artwork that I posted to my Twitter and my social media. So, but we could talk about that later. I've already plugged.
Yes, I was checking your profile Instagram and I was like, oh my God, that's amazing. That's very talented. My goodness. So tell me a little bit about your career. How has everything started?
Let's see. I was born to an immigrant family. My parents are from the Naples area of Italy, so I grew up in a very sort of, I guess you would call it a multicultural kind of way. So I speak fluent Italian and also the Neapolitan dialect. The majority of my relatives are still in Italy, which one of the benefits to social media is that we get to maintain connectivity with them, which is great, as everybody has gone off to have their babies and their own families and careers, which is exciting. I moved to New York 20 years ago, and I worked at Marvel Comics, as a matter of fact, Marvel Entertainment, for about 6 years in manufacturing. So at the time, I was specifically responsible for working on a great deal of their master works and archive editions and getting things scanned, because at the time, a lot of the old artwork, many decades worth of artwork hadn't yet been digitized. So in conjunction with the editorial department, that was a really fun gig for a person that grew up to be a comic book fan and then ended up actually working in the industry, albeit not as an artist, but I was going to school at the time. And after which I started cultivating my musical craft. I'm classically trained operatically, but my interests are more diverse than that and more oriented towards sort of rock and folk. And so me and my collaborators worked on Stefano and the Truth for a while. Then I went back to school. I both studied at Parsons and School of Visual Arts. As I said, I completed their program for cartooning there, class of 2020, as it were. So that made for an interesting graduation. But I got to study with some of the greats like David Mazzucchelli and Carl Potts, amongst many others. So it was a great honor. And I teach, and I do some freelance work. I still do fine arts. Occasionally, I do a lot of life drawing, commission work as well. And I think that's relatively, a good summary of
Amazing.
My path.
My goodness, amazing. Very fascinating for sure, Stefano. Right, are you ready to go on a beautiful journey through your memories in life and to share your point of views?
Yeah, sure.
Welcome to William and the Magic Box. So this is my best friend. Full of random fun questions, okay? What I'm going to do, I'm just going to play a song now just for us to move a little bit before the first question.
Okay.
Let's do it. Before we start the game, through the journey, if there is a question that you don't want to talk about for some reason, you don't want to answer, always can change, okay? It's all very friendly.
Excellent. I appreciate knowing that.
Right. First question for you is, which season of the year you feel more connected with and why?
I would say winter. I run fairly hot, so I like to feel as cool and comfortable as possible, and I love frolicking in the snow, and I like the way that the ice glistens on the trees, and I just find it to be a very romantic and peaceful and reflective sort of period of the year. And it's also, it is conjoined with the holiday season as well. So you have the benefit of all these ritualistic sort of celebrations and all of their, their trappings like pretty lights and so forth that make it the thing that I probably look forward to most every year is wintertime. And
it's your birthday.
And jackets. It's an opportunity to accessorize, right?
Is your birthday around the winter time as well or not?
It's not. I'm a June baby.
Oh, I'm just asking that because I heard once that you feel very connected with this season when you were born. And for me, it works perfect because I love the fall. And my birthday is November, so it's just beautiful.
Well, fall is a beautiful season, so I'll remind me and I'll wish you a happy birthday then. I just had it. But no, I don't feel any sort of relationship to the summer because of its proximity to my birthday.
Next question. Let's do it. Oh, I like your moves. Look at you.
And I'm reining it in, but please.
Right. Next question for you is, how long can you go without checking your phone?
It varies. It varies on my temperament, whether or not I'm focused on other projects. I could go maybe a couple of days, probably at the most, but that's rare. I mean, most of us, I think, have a lot of expectations to follow up on emails or social media commitments and so forth. So not very much, less than I'd like.
Saying that, Stefano, do you consider yourself to be more of a day or a night person?
Oh, I'm definitely well, boy, that's a tough question because I love the sunlight. So I tend, whenever I can grasp some rays, I really love to bask in the sun. but I work and am at my most alert and creative at night, prone to insomnia. So I would say that I'm functionally a night person, but I wish to be a day person.
Interesting. Next one, let's do it. Wow. Before the next question, tell me a bit your career as a songwriter and about your band as well. How everything started?
Well, actually, I started collaborate. Well, I guess that's a longer story, but I'll keep it as brief as possible. As I said, I'm classically trained and operatically, and my musical interest and taste is vast. Mostly due to growing up in a household where I was listening to world music, primarily from Italy, that was concurrent with the music that was on the radio. So a lot of sort of progressive Italian rock and pop that deeply influenced the development of my musical aesthetic. And then I'd say around the time I was in my 20s, I started collaborating with a local musician, Anthony Kreisen, who was a member of the oh gosh, I'm going to forget, how terrible. A former member of the Spin Doctors, which was an alternative band of the early 1990s. And he's gone on to do amazing music work and collaborations with other artists and production primarily. So we cut a few records. I started songwriting right around the time that I was working at Marvel, when I sort of decided I wanted to make my own music as opposed to considering a career in classical music. And that was kind of the inception of that. I shopped it around. It really kind of didn't progress much farther than that. It took a lot of resources, as these undertakings often do. So I kind of had to put it on the back burner for a while. And I went back to school to study fine arts. Then my brother-in-law and I actually started collaborating by songwriting together around 2012, and we wrote Magnetronic, shy of a big move that I was planning at the time. And I decided to remain because we thought, this is really good, and let's give it a shot. So we collaborated with a couple of friends of ours who were filmmakers and did some amazing video songs to accompany our music. And we released an album and an EP and a couple of extra singles this past decade. The years are flying. And yeah, that's kind of how it happened. And I'm still songwriting and still creating new music, but I haven't had an opportunity to sort of get settled back into the studio and so forth with my other pursuits.
I see, but we still play in your band. You still have your band together?
Currently, we're kind of taking a break, but yeah, but we're essentially still, collaborating and still songwriting, but we haven't actually produced any new music since our last single, Shuttered Sky.
Cool. Next question for you is, as a child, have you ever stole anything, and how did it happen?
Gosh, I think maybe, is this a last question maybe? I think maybe I took some beans. I think I took some beans from a grocery store once when I was a small child. Yeah.
I see. Have you ever lived in Italy for a while as a child or not?
No, I have visited several times over the years, although it's been a long time since I've gone. But yeah, I visited frequently with my family when I was a child and in the 90s as a teen.
And saying that, Stefano, did your parents, you speak Italian, fluent Italian, because at home you're always speaking Italian with your parents? Was like a rule?
I didn't quite at first, and I'll just correct you for a moment. It's Stefano. And
sorry,
you reverted back. That's okay. It's common. But I was always spoken to in Italian, whether it be proper Italian or the Neapolitan dialect. So it was sort of ingrained in me, but I was very adamant growing up about speaking English. And it wasn't probably until I was a late teen where I started to really appreciate my culture and started speaking starting to attempt to speak it. And it came very easily because I practically knew it at the time anyway. Yeah.
Ready for another question?
All right. Oh boy.
Let's do it. Next question for you is, what makes you really angry? When people say your name incorrectly.
No, I was younger, perhaps, but I certainly, that's not small fries. I would say certainty, absolute certainty. It really kind of agitates me, particularly in our culture today. That leaves no room for the consideration of, broader discussion.
And why is that? Why it makes you angry?
Well, because it annihilates any kind of progress. Because with certainty, there is no room for growth. There's no room for reflection or consideration or any kind of real discourse with people. So I see it as a moral danger, and that probably really aggravates me the most currently.
Next one, let's do it. Okay, next question for you is, what bad habits do you wish you could stop?
Oh my goodness. Well, insomnia is one of them, although I'm currently sleeping better, so I guess that's a good thing. Yeah, I mean, overusage of devices, to sort of circle back to our previous conversation. I want to gaze the phones and the devices significantly less than I either feel I have to or am just volunteering all of that extra time and energy to focus on the sort of immaterial nonsense that I'm constantly confronted with. And probably procrastination for projects, right? Sometimes as a creative, we can get caught up in our own perfectionism or a variety of other issues that might prevent us from just, tackling the work. And that obviously downstream prevents an artist from really going places. So
I see. And when you say about the social media, which platform do you use the most? You are more focused, or you spend more time?
I'm embarrassed to say Twitter, which was never the case, several years ago. I use practically all of them, but I would say that Twitter has, as an independent creator and comic book artist, has the most value in making connections and reaching a broader network for art making. So I feel compelled to pay closest attention to that platform versus the others. I like Instagram. Obviously, it's the most superficial of the platforms, and I certainly make use of that as well, unashamedly. But it isn't. I'm paying a lot less attention to it nowadays that I'm getting more serious about my work.
And why Twitter? You connect with more people instead of the other platforms, in your opinion? Why Twitter?
I think that apart from a lot of the sort of vitriolic people kind of get involved with Twitter, if one is conscientious about the people that they're networking and engaging with, there's a lot of eyeballs there, both professional and other people that are seeking collaboration with other creatives, a lot of great advice that people administer willingly, that are either industry pros or sort of climbing their way upwards. It can be a very aspirational place, and what's good about it is great, and I enjoy part of me anyway, if I can turn my blinders on, then it can be a very rewarding experience sometimes. I had Patty Jenkins actually retweet a Wonder Woman artwork a couple of years ago, which was extraordinary. That's not something that would have happened on Instagram or Facebook. So being able to interact with professionals in the industry and have them appreciate your work, it can be a huge boon. So it's something that I feel like I have to do.
Oh, great. Next one. Let's do it, Stefan. Right, but before the next question, what's the best part of being a teacher in your opinion?
Being a teacher?
Yeah.
Seeing my students grapple with concepts that they think that they've never encountered or they've never successfully executed, and being able to do so, and it just completely opens up their eyes and makes all things possible for them, which is something that is really exciting to watch with cartooning. And also just seeing them in, because often with teaching, I'm operating on a pre-existing curriculum that I've cultivated, that I've also learned from my teachers as well. So there is a lot of repetitiveness to that, but seeing different artists, young artists and olds occasionally, because I teach all ages, come up with just the most unusual ways to troubleshoot or navigate storytelling is so rewarding and exciting to watch. It teaches me as well.
And how often do you teach per week? How many classes do you have per week, more or less?
I teach seasonally, so I teach approximately 6 to 8 week courses, varying on the scheduling, several times a year.
All right. Next question is, what makes you most uncomfortable about yourself?
That's a tough one. I want to give a fair answer. I would say probably my openness is both a blessing, but also can be detrimental to my psyche. If I feel like I invest too quickly in an idea or a relationship, whether professional or otherwise, can be challenging, because I often just very, very open and receptive to that. So maybe and I've certainly developed a harder exterior, as we do when we age, in response to that characteristic.
And what's the best part of being yourself, in your opinion?
I think my capacity to create is it's something that I cherish, whether it's through any different means of creativity, whether it's music or art making, or just thinking in a creative way that allows me an avenue to both express and examine life circumstances or what have you, and also kind of imagine accordingly what other people may be experiencing and how they're navigating the world and arriving to a decision or a point of view. I think my creativity is probably something that I feel, grateful for.
Ready for another one?
Sure.
Let's do it. Next one. Wow. Good answer you are. Stefano, before the next question, tell me, when was the moment that you thought, when you realized, you said, okay, I was born to be an artist? Did you always have the support of your family as well regarding that?
I did, and I'm very grateful. To answer the first question, yes, both my parents are immigrants from Italy and have very coming from more of a rural, old world kind of mentality, were very progressive in their support and understanding of my creative instincts and path, and actively paved the way for me to have that path, despite being lower middle class and the struggles and sacrifice of a family, and so I'm deeply, deeply grateful for that. So I think there was a first part of that question that I need you to repeat.
When was the moment that you thought, okay, I was born to be an artist? When you realized that you had a gift?
I think it was something that kind of happened organically. We have drawings from when I was about maybe 3 or 4 that were sort of little fashion designs. And it isn't necessarily a field that I've gone into these many years later, but certainly was of interest to me. And, I was always sort of drawing the glamorous ladies that I was watching on television in the 80s and early 90s. And that was from as early as I can remember, I was engaged in, cannibalizing, the soap opera and comic book media, being really enamored with the arts. And then obviously when I was much older and I started really getting educated about art history, and it's always been a part of who I am. So, but I would say probably as early around 3 or 4 when I began drawing.
And did you had someone that you look up to, like an inspiration?
Currently?
No. When you're growing up,
so many variety of idols that I don't think need bear mention. But I would say that I idolized my older sisters. That they were often, a compass of sorts for me, and yeah, I would say my family.
Good. Next one is: would you rather be invisible or be able to fly? And what would you do?
Gosh, those are the 2 powers that I wish I had the most. Simultaneously, so I could fly invisibly. I don't know. That's a tough question. I feel like invisibility is a trap because it's sort of a very easily corruptible sort of power that's immediately deceptive. So I would probably say flying. However, in our current world where there are drones and satellite, probably wouldn't be great or last very long. So, but in a fictional world, I would say flight. Yeah.
Next question. Jersey. Next question is: which book had a big influence on you?
Gosh, it's been years since I've read it, so I don't know that I could do it any justice. But I think Steppenwolf by Hermann Hesse was a big one for me, as was Frank Herbert's Dune, for totally different reasons. I like a lot of children's literature that I revisit a great deal. So, I like Alice's Adventures in Wonderland and the Wizard of Oz, obviously. It sounds so trite, but and including the Chronicles of Narnia by C.S. Lewis and some of his other works as well, that I continually celebrate and will often reread. So those are a few. But as far as adult literature, I would say probably Dune and Steppenwolf.
Great. And what's the biggest message of the book for you at the time when you read it?
Gosh, that's a tough one because I have to reread it to tell you. I think, I feel like vaguely alienation, and it's something that I probably alienation in sort of through a modern lens spoke to me as a man in my 20s who was just embarking on an adult life in New York City at the time and grappling with the reality and sort of the weight of what cosmopolitan world is versus the fantasy that we all sort of collectively imbibe when we're younger from movies and media. And Dune, I mean, you could write a dissertation on the series about just how it's sort of a reflection of sort of deep corruption and power and just a lot of things that I felt were really spectacular, and the world building was really inspiring from a storytelling angle, and I continue to celebrate that book especially.
Right.
And it's nice to see that it's getting sort of renaissance thanks to the success of the Warner Brothers film adaptation that just came out. Although I will defend David Lynch's iteration. That's my hill, so to speak, is that Dune 1984 is in itself a grand piece of artwork, even though it has many bizarro that were made that alienated audiences then and now. It's still a breathtaking piece of artwork for me.
Next question. Let's do it. Wow. Right. Next question is describe your. Say again.
It's a good thing I'm sitting down, otherwise I'd really get engaged into the dancing and we'd never be able to finish our questions. Next time.
Describe yourself in one positive word and one negative word only.
Positive word and a negative word. Receptive and oversensitive.
You always being sensitive?
Well, I think being a very receptive person, often, they sort of go hand in hand, is having a level of oversensitivity. So that's something that I work on.
Cool. 3 questions left for you, okay? Let's do it. 3 questions. Okay. So before the next question, when you think about New York City, when you're living there, what's the best memories that comes to your mind about the city?
Gosh, I've had so many adventures and misadventures. I lived in the East Village briefly. I lived on the Upper East Side for many years. I worked in both Chelsea and Midtown. I did some, I don't know. I have probably great memories, specifically of friendships that I made at a now closed bar called Excess Lounge in Chelsea. That was sort of the neighborhood cheers for that community many years ago now. So I probably had some of my happiest times there, and just having fun with friends and meeting new people. I think there may have been some karaoke involved on occasion, as I recall, which was fun. But I've had so many great experiences there. It's hard to pinpoint specifically what.
Right. Next question is, who would you swap lives with for a day?
No one. No one.
Why?
It seems it isn't natural. And it's kind of I think it would be, I don't know. I mean, it's hard to say. I mean, obviously this is a magical question. So no one. I can't elaborate on that. Just, I wouldn't want to spend a day as anyone else. Our time, I do have an answer. Our time here is so frail and so limited that it would, any stretch of time that were attributed to someone else's life would be robbing me of my path and my experience here. And I think that is somehow an aberration, and I wouldn't want to do it.
All right. 2 questions left for you. Let's do it. Right, but before the next question, you know those 2 years that the world went upside down regarding the COVID crisis, yeah? Personally for you, what's the biggest positive impact that brought to your personal life? And at the same time as well, what's the biggest negative impact, if you can share?
Well, I think the negative impact is pretty simple, and it's something that is shared globally, apart from the tragedies that so many people faced. Just the immediate lack of employment was devastating. And so that's been really difficult to sort of recalibrate and redirect my professional energies in trying to find work. So that, at the time I was still finishing up my degree at SBA, but I was very much, I was doing a lot of background extra work with movie and TV studios. And so those were sort of these regular gigs that I could actually rely on. And I had a job at the lab. So all of that kind of immediately stopped. And that was a big hit for me personally, and obviously for so many other people share so many war stories. So for that, I'm deeply grateful. But that would be the negative. And I would say that the opposite is through that re-examination and that recalibration of not only trying to earn a living, but taking stock of what is available to a person in this world, in the state that we're in, I think got me more serious about my craft and more focused on the things that I value and how I engage with social media, and that I use it primarily as a platform for artwork and music. Well, not currently music making, but primarily for artwork and professional stuff, and keeping myself focused on family and my craft in a more focused and careful way.
All right. Next question is, what would be your theme song if you had your own show?
Salisbury Hill by Peter Gabriel.
And why this song?
It's such it has that amazing acoustic riff and melody that just kind of sweeps you up. And the narrative is sort of about, personal growth and it's very moving to me. And I feel like that we're all of us striving for something better and to achieve, and whilst acknowledging where we've come from and the efforts of other people who contributed to our life, which I feel like that song summarizes in a very poetic and elegant way that I admire. And so that would be the one. Yeah. And it has sort of it has all of this beautiful sentimentality to it, but it isn't really somber. It's very uplifting. And I feel like that would make for a great theme song that wasn't trite, but had deep meaning to it.
Ready for the last one?
Sure.
Last question. Let's do it. Right, before the last question, people watch the interview. Would you like to start a career as an illustrator or a comic cartoonist? What would be your best piece of advice?
I have two pieces of advice. If I may, I would say draw. You know, your biggest your biggest ally in being creative is the act of creation itself, both as a means to keep your hands wet, so to speak, and cultivate your craft and perfect it, but also get yourself out of your own way, you know, and just continue to draw, continue to work at it, continue to look for avenues where you can learn from the greats, learn from the people whom are around you, and whatever advice, career or otherwise, that they may be able to contribute to your field. I think, you know, be open to that. And that the other piece I would say is to, you know, be civil, be kind, because you know, one never knows who may be a future collaborator or may have an opportunity for you in the future downstream. I think there's great value in, you know, being a good person.
Last question for you is, what was your best friend's name growing up, and why did you consider this person as your best friend at the time?
Tara. And I would say she was my best friend at the time because we spent an inordinate amount of time together over several years of our teens. We actually met during a summer cast production of, gosh, what was it? Some musical that I forgot about. And we were friends immediately. Although she went to a different school and was a year my senior, we spent our teenage years spending a lot of time together, and I value that time. And it's a lot of laughs, a lot of tears, and a great deal of joy exploring music together and going down the shore and visiting the boardwalk. Many happy teenage memories that I probably took for granted at the time. But yeah, she's gone on to have a very beautiful family, and we don't really see each other any longer because she lives out of state. But we do keep in touch, and I value those special times that we had.
Beautiful, beautiful. It's not the end yet. Let's play now the word association game. I'm going to give you words. Just tell one word that comes to your mind. Quick thinking, okay?
I need some caffeine for that.
Okay.
So, I hope you are enjoying the interview. Before we do the word association game, don't forget to give a like, don't forget to share this video, and also don't forget to subscribe to our channel. Just click on the button right there. Thank you so much and enjoy the word association game.
One word for money.
Greed.
Family.
Value.
One word for life.
Brief.
Love.
Eternal.
Sex.
Union.
Politics.
Strife.
One word for religion.
Complicated.
Fear.
Necessary.
I like that. Friendship.
Crucial.
Desire.
Lust.
Regret.
Mistake.
Success.
Fleeting.
One word for wish.
Oh gosh, I'm running a blank. Wish. Um, I'm thinking of I'm thinking of a flower and I can't place its name. Dandelion.
Happiness.
Fleeting.
One word for New York City.
Conflict.
One word for New Jersey.
Home.
One word for Italy.
Family.
USA.
Nation.
One word for artist.
Cross.
One word for songwriter.
Minstrel.
One word for teacher.
For what?
Teaching.
Oh, tools.
And the last one now, illustrator. One word.
Storyteller.
Actually, another one for you. Fine art. One word.
Masterful.
Beautiful. Oh, I like this word, masterful. I love it. Let's pretend now I'm going to meet your best friend for a coffee, okay? And I'm going to ask your best friend.
This is not my high school best friend. This is my current best friend, right?
Yes, your current best. If I would ask your best friend to define you, what's the most beautiful thing about Stefano, and what's something that he still needs to work on, to improve on? What your best friend would say?
That I'm childlike in my sense of wonder and appreciation. And what was the other question?
The negative part, something that you need to improve.
Oh, I mean, life skills. Yeah, I mean, I've got a really solid best friend, and he would not mince words. So yeah, adult life skills, I think is what he would say.
Let's play now with Stefano and the magic box, and you can ask me a question. Right, but before you ask me the question, tell me, what's your favorite Italian word?
Scoppiare, which means to explode. Scoppiare, that's my favorite word.
I love it. So, Stefano, you can ask me a question now.
What is the best advice someone gave you?
I love the question. I love the question. Right. The first thing that came to my mind is when I was 19 years old, I left Brazil. I moved to Portugal, where I was living for 5 years before moving to the UK. And I was very young and I didn't know anybody over there. And I remember I was working in a restaurant and I was the youngest person there. All the people working in the restaurant, they were like already married, they had children. And I was very lucky because they kind of adopted me. They literally, I remember them like talking to me, teaching me life, a lot of things. And I was very young. And I never forget one day, before we start work, we had like our meal together. And I remember after that, we had like half an hour for us to get ready, to just relax a bit before we opened the restaurant. And I caught myself like alone, just like in the corner was like a glass window, like the whole wall was in glass, and I just caught myself there, like I was 2 or 3 weeks I was in Portugal, and I was lost in my thoughts, you know what I mean, like literally lost in my thoughts, and I was there on my own, and suddenly this friend of mine, he came up to me and he was like, did you leave a girlfriend back in Brazil? And I was like, no, I didn't. Why? He said, William, I can see here, everyone is there talking, like socializing. You are here alone. What's happening? What's going on? Mm-hmm. And I didn't realize actually that I was there having this moment with myself, And he said to me, I think he spotted straight away. And he told me, he said, William, Brazil is going to be there all the time. Brazil is not going to run away. Brazil is there. So give a chance to yourself. You just arrived here now, you're just getting yourself used to the new country, to the new culture. So give a try. Don't give up easily. I know you are going through a lot of tough times now because you're literally alone. Your family's back in Brazil. You are 19 years old, but give a try. Don't give up easily. And if one day you feel like it's not your place, Brazil is going to be there all the time. It's not going to run away. So give a chance. Give a chance to yourself. And actually, literally, I need to hear that. For some reason, it was such a comfort advice that, I didn't realize that I was literally sad because I was alone. But just the way he talked to me, the way he explained to me that Brazil wouldn't run away from me, I felt so strong after that little conversation we had, this brief conversation. And it was one of the biggest advice I remember because I needed to hear that somehow. I need to realize that whatever would happen to me, I had Brazil there. My family was there for me and my country was there. So why not to give a try and to carry on? And I remember that after that next day, I felt so much stronger. You know what I mean? So I needed to hear that friendly, support, and I didn't realize, and I'm so grateful to him and he was married, he had kids at the time. I think he realized that I was sad somehow or, feeling lonely. I was away from my family. It was the first time I've been away. I was the other side of the world, my goodness. And so yeah, that advice was very special for me and I will always remember.
I think that's wonderful. And I think that could be applicable to so many different people in different circumstances. Certainly, I wish someone had said more or less the same thing, and perhaps they had when I was a young man. Even if you aren't necessarily emigrating, as my parents did, to a new country, or as you did from Brazil, automatically feeling like an outsider and not having an opportunity yet to assimilate to a new culture. If you're in a new job or a new experience, so often we self-isolate. And I think what that meant for you was say, you have an invitation to participate. You can participate, right? And so many things happen when we participate in situations that we're familiar with or we're uncomfortable. So good on him, wherever he is in the world.
Yeah. Actually, he's living in Germany now. He's living in Germany right now. And he's, yes, I still keep in touch with him. And actually with those guys there. And when I look back, my goodness, I think they were so supportive. And when I said they adopt me, now I realize that because I remember they literally looked after me because they could see that I was so young and I was literally trying to go after my dreams and I didn't know anyone and I was kind of learning life, how to be alone, you know what I mean? And I think everyone crosses your life for a reason and people, you always should be grateful to them. And I'm so lucky, Stefano, I'm so lucky that, I could tell you like 100 of people that so far like crossed my path and I'm so grateful for them because it makes a difference in our lives.
It really does. And so does gratitude, if we could sneak that in there. So perhaps you'll reach out to your friend at some point and remind him of that story and how valuable he proved to be just from that first encounter. And I think maybe I'll thank the people in my life today as well. So anybody that comes across this episode, that's your homework, is to go thank some people for the good that they did for you, because perhaps they may need to hear that gratitude today. You never know, right?
And sometimes they didn't realize how special they were being at the time. They were just being themselves and giving some like a friendly advice, but literally they were giving a big impact in somebody's life for sure.
Absolutely.
Stefano, did you enjoy the interview?
I loved it. It's you immediately put me at ease with that great big smile of yours.
Thank you.
So I felt very comfortable to be open and to communicate with you, and I'm very grateful that you had me on your platform today. I look forward to watching it later and spreading the word so that people will subscribe to your channels both here and on YouTube. I look forward to our future conversations as well.
Thank you so much for taking the time. Thanks so much for being kind and sweet, and for taking your time for the show. I appreciate. But before you go, if you can share a positive message or something that you live by.
I had to think about this one, and I think the quote that I would like to share today is by the late and great comic book master, Mr. Jack Kirby, which is one that sounds negative, but is really wonderful advice, which is life at best is bittersweet. I think I'm quoting him properly. And boy, is that some harsh truth, right? And sometimes we need to know that and be reminded that when we walk through our pain, that it isn't unexpected, because life is tough. And it is often rife with disappointment and despair. And knowing that, I think actually can give a person a little bit of solace, and also the opportunity to really appreciate and celebrate when it's great. So it's a nice little reminder, a nice little nugget there. Life is at best bittersweet. So really anything else is upward from that. And how wonderful is that? Yeah, and also appreciating just the value of the challenges that life throws at us, and how if we are lucky enough that we're able to overcome them, or we come through them, whether through our own machinations or certainly with the aid of people that we love, and that love us, that we are somehow wiser for it, and we can contribute something back to the world by maybe giving somebody else advice that we didn't have available to us, or that we didn't know at the time, before any number of things happen, as they do.
Beautiful, beautiful. Stefano, thank you so much for the interview. It was a pleasure, and keep in touch, okay?
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me on your channel today. And you can all find me on Instagram at SPJ Comic Art, or Twitter, which I'm more actively participating on, at Stefano Truth. I look forward to getting to know you better. And where can your viewers find this channel if you want to plug yourself?
It's a YouTube channel called William the Magic Box, and it's just put William the Magic Box, is gonna come along straight away. And what's your YouTube channel as well?
Oh, thank you. That is youtube.com/Stefano and the Truth. So Stefano and the Truth. And again, our musical is available for streaming on Spotify and other streaming platforms as well.
Amazing. Thank you so much. Ciao.
Thank you. Grazie.
Keep in touch. Bye-bye.
Bye.
So, did you like the show? Don't forget to give a like, share it, and also don't forget to subscribe to the channel. And if you'd like to be part of the show as well, first, subscribe to our channel, and after that, just go to our website, www.williamandthemagicbox.com, and send us a request saying why would you like to be part of the show. And I see you there. Bye bye, see you next time.